The most important things we have learned about digital ministry. I'm Reverend Jim Keat, digital minister at the Riverside Church, director of online innovation at Convergence, joined with Reverend Natalie Renee Perkins, whose title keeps changing every 6 months at Middle Collegiate Church. Natalie, what is the official title? And just give us the elevator pitch of what that means you do.
I'm the executive minister for digital church at Middle Collegiate Church here in New York City in the East Village. So yeah,
See, that's a new title to me. I like that title, but
I was
executive minister for digital church. Who put that on a business card?
Yeah, I was the minister for digital engagement or strategy and engagement, and now I'm digital church specifically.
All right, we need a whole conversation just about that because I feel like that is like a direction right there that's incredible.
Amen. I'm so excited about. I love it.
So we're going to talk though about the most important things we've learned. I prepared a few things, and so I want to just share my list, and we'll see how it feels on your end, and then we'll hear from you with the no pressure, but wrap us up with the most important thing. So I have my first one, Natalie. We've talked about this a bunch, so it's not going to be new to you. Anyone who's watched anything I've done has probably heard me say variations of this, but the most important thing I've learned about digital ministry, and this is like spanning basically the entire time I've touched computers in ministry, which has been since I've set foot in churches and computers existed. But the most important thing I've learned, especially focused during this pandemic season we're still living in to some extent, is that digital ministry is incarnational ministry. We often think of incarnation being, in the flesh, physical spaces. You have to show up and, breathe the same air and, high five kind of thing. But no. I think digital ministry is just as incarnational because you're showing up to the spaces people are. And for me, this really is the reminder. I tell myself that, digital ministry is not just talking to cameras. It's not tech ministry. It's not the technology. It's the people on the other side of the technology. Or just to quote the great theologian Little Mermaid, I want to be where the people are. That's what ministry has always been about. And digital ministry just allows us to do that, I think, even more efficiently and effectively than maybe ever before. What do you think about digital ministry as incarnational ministry?
100% cosign. 100%. I also think that there's something to be said for how we are in right relationship with each other through transitions that we struggle to do when we are solely doing in-person meetups or however in-person whateverness, right? Like there's a way that we have online members and I'm sure you do too, that you've never met, but that doesn't speak to the depth of your relationship. And so digital ministry allows us to create real holistic relationships that are not, determined by geographic location.
Yeah, or just the ability to show up and how you show up. Because think of the whole phenomenon of your Sunday best. You are always putting on a persona. We're all born naked. The rest of life is drag. That's the theologian RuPaul right there. You're putting on a certain persona when you come to church on Sunday, whether it's your best clothes or whatever. You chose to wear something. So we get to see a version of yourself. And that's true online. Let's not say that online is suddenly more authentic. It's all personifications, but we get, I think, better opportunities to see a full spectrum of the person because we can see a person in more than just the 1 day a week, 1 hour a week, pressed shirt, whatever kind of a mentality. So,
and you get to decide, right? Like how much of you is going to show up and how you will be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about it's an opportunity to practice right relationship with each other. And to really dive into the depths of what that could be, right? Ooh. Like I just have an avatar for my picture. Nobody ever knows what I look like, but also I can be sitting here in this nice little black shirt with shorts on, which I am doing.
There we go.
Sitting here. So there's a way in which we get to decide, I don't have to tell you that I'm wearing flip-flops right now, but there's a way in which I'm if we're going to be.
I'll just show you.
Do you see what I mean? that helps us create a depth in our relationship or realness, Jeffrey is in PJs.
Oh, all right. So that's number one for me. Digital ministry is incarnational ministry. I've ranted about it a bunch, but I think it's one of the most important things I've learned because we can believe the lie that digital ministry is fake or secondary or it's just robots and machines. But when you're talking to that computer, that camera, you're actually talking to any number of humans on the other side of the camera. So it's always the people side of it. Number two, my second thing that I think is most important, I have three most important things. Second one, I think that it's this tension between the new and shiny versus authentic consistency. So I think what I found is that the authentic consistency is always more important than the new and shiny. And what I mean by that is there's always a bunch of new stuff in digital spaces. There's new platforms, new features. Try this. Are we all on TikTok yet? Is TikTok going to be banned? What are we going to do next? Who knows? Why? It can feel overwhelming to try to keep up with all the things. And I think it's not worth it. Don't do all the things. Why half-ass everything when you can full-ass one or two things? But I think the most important thing is that authentic consistency, meaning those two words on purpose there. Authentic meaning you show up as you, and what are the spaces that feel authentic to you? Like, where do you feel compelled and energized to enter and engage in digital spaces? And where are your congregants showing up, or the people you're called to serve and pastor showing up? So authenticity of you and authenticity of those people, and then consistency. You don't just do it, once in a while. We gather pretty much every 7 days in this church thing. Consistency serves a purpose so that we keep showing up, maintaining that incarnational ministry. So for me, the second thing on my list is prioritizing that authentic consistency and setting those boundaries and maintaining them, rather than just feeling this guilt to jump in on every new shiny thing that comes. Now, I'm someone who likes to try all the new shiny things, but I don't think you should try to shift your strategy every 2 seconds, or disband that, or try to just scale everything. No. Sample stuff, but really have an intentionality as to why you're doing things. And hopefully it taps into some authenticity with you, your community, and then hopefully you can do it in a way that you can be consistent over time. So this is a newer rant for me, kind of. I haven't framed it this way before, but thoughts on my authentic consistency is greater than new and shiny?
I think so, Jim. One of the things that I was going to say around what have I learned is to just always be willing to try whatever's coming out. It's a buffet. It's a buffet, but also pay attention to what your community eats, right? So if there's a whole bunch of dairy on the buffet, but everybody's lactose intolerant, then don't pick all of the dairy stuff. If you have people who aren't eager to download the next biggest whatever, then maybe choose which ones they're comfortable with and use those. And then maybe there's another group of people that you have that are all gung-ho for trying a new thing, right? So there can be a bunch of different ways that you're able to bring in stuff or figure out what is the tried and true thing, right? Versus the new thing that you'll learn maybe it wasn't worth our time, or let's see if we can introduce this a little more slowly into this other group because it actually is beneficial to all of us.
Yeah. It's why I think, as much as I personally despise it for all sorts of reasons, churches should probably be on Facebook. Mainly, well, there's ethics we could get into, but I'm just thinking of demographics. The average demographic for most mainline churches and the average demographic for the typical Facebook user has a bit of an alignment there. TikTok, Snapchat, there are some congregations where that's very present, and there is definitely purposes to be in those spaces. But it's like you said, don't dish out all the dairy-filled ice cream and desserts and dishes when no one at the table can even stomach that stuff. But don't be afraid of trying something new. Hey, have the tofu salad. Have the I'm a vegetarian. All my things are going to be vegetarian based. Oh, try something new. It's okay. We always tell our kids. My wife and I have 2 kids. We say that they can't say no to something until they've had a chance to either say yuck or yum. And then Adrian, our mutual friend, senior minister at Riverside, she's told her kid that she has to try something at least 3 different times to write it off, because you might just not like the way it was prepared this time. But then all this is to say it's okay to sample things, taste things, but you don't want to just force, ice cream upon a lactose intolerant person. Don't give gluten to the celiacs, all those kinds of things. Yeah.
All it.
All right, my final one, my grand finale, and then I can't wait to hear what you're going to bring to us too. My final thing I've learned, the most important thing I've learned about digital ministry, and this might be the most important. I think if I can capture everything in the past however many years I've been playing in these spaces, which is a good while of my life, which has been fun, is this: there is no such thing as digital ministry. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing. There is no digital ministry. It's also the same as saying there's no such thing as a social justice church, because you're being redundant. A church, by definition, is doing social justice. Ministry, by definition, is showing up in the spaces where people are. And in our world today, that's digital spaces. Yeah, back in like 1950, there was, we didn't have email and technology. Okay, whatever. But I guarantee every single pastor, probably in America for sure, is using email. They're emailing congregants, and they have been for decades. You're a digital minister. Digital ministry is not using the new digital toys. It's just showing up in the spaces where people are. So it's just ministry. Digital ministry, no, get rid of that first word. It's just ministry. There's no like ministry, digital ministry dichotomy. You can't say I'm doing this, but not that. If you're not in digital spaces, if you're not connected to people the ways they are existing in the world, are you even doing ministry? I mean, yes, you are, but you also are very much omitting the ministry that you need to do contextually in the world and the time and the place and the culture we live in. So there's no such thing as digital ministry. It's just ministry. Now, I'm going to say the phrase digital ministry a whole lot because, you got to package things so we understand what we're talking about. But at the core, all ministry needs to have some awareness and understanding and embrace and engagement in these digital spaces. Otherwise, it's just ignoring the ways in which people are living in the world around us. Okay, my final rant. Am I way off? Am I right on? Keep me in the not too much heresy lane.
No, I'm with you. Ignoring versus ignoring, tomato, but otherwise, I'm with you. I think it's like saying chai tea. Like,
yeah, ooh, like ATM machine. Like, no, you're being redundant here. It's the word's already there.
What'd you say?
ATM machine.
Oh, yes. That. So I think in a way I'm with you on that. And I also wonder, for me, like, if it's bigger than just like the email, right? Like, our entire United States Postal Service happens because of the zeros and ones, right? So digital ministry is just, it's to me it's bigger than just this thing that's happening in this space. Like, there isn't actually a way in which we're able to do what we do in any way anymore without some sort of technological component.
Just an infrastructure. Yeah.
So
it's the water we're swimming in. So if you're trying to, you're doing it whether you believe it or not. It's like the two fish swimming in water past the older fish, and he says, "Hey boys, how's the water? What the hell is water? It's there. It's all around us." We are invited to open our eyes and splash around intentionally, and I think that's really what those of us who are privileged to do this digital ministry work in a specialized way get to do. Is we get to say, let's show others what we should all be doing. And we're going to get to explore new things, try new things, model things so we can all learn. But, your church, we're all digital ministers. That I've always seen that as my biggest role as Riverside's digital minister. It's to help model and empower and coach my clergy colleagues at Riverside of how digital ministry can be expressed in their places. I don't do all the digital ministry so they don't have to. That's not the model. It's like a social justice minister at a church doesn't do all the social justicing so you don't have to. The youth pastor is not the only person who knows the names of teenagers, but they are the specialized one who helps lead the way so we can all join in that work together. That's rant number 2. Yeah. Okay, let's shift to you. What are you bringing? If you had to, you might have 1,000 things. I know you have one thing at least. Maybe it's evolved. What would you say is some of the most important things you've learned about digital ministry?
I think the big one is check your work, honestly. When you're playing with all these different things, it's so exciting. Let's try this. Let's go. Let's do, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to launch it on this Sunday, blah, 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 but you haven't actually checked to see if it works. It'll save you a whole lot of time. And we're in such a rush to kind of get down the road on stuff that we just don't like stop and check our work. And in order to like have people trust us doing this work, that's a helpful thing. But just like work on like whatever platforms we're introducing, but also like in the political landscape that we are existing in right now, checking other people's work is important too.
Yeah.
You know, making sure that whatever you're bringing and sharing in all of these online spaces has been fact checked and comes from more than one reputable source, et cetera, because it's very easy for all of these tidbits to get separated from them from their original source.
Yep.
And so, as people who are out here trying to do the work, you know, to bring God's kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven, like it's important to make sure that the stuff we're putting out there is based in like reality and righteousness.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's always been a need, just to check your work, to take a breath, to proof check, proofread. That's true in all contexts of life
and cite your sources.
Yeah, but I think it's even easier to fall into those missteps in these digital spaces because like publishing the thing for the world to see is just like a tap away. Whereas in other infrastructures, it requires, get this, print that, produce that. So there's more, steps involved just to the process versus like I can make a thing and upload it and it's a video done. Whoa, good. That's great. But the speed doesn't mean you should just go as fast as you can. That's a note for life. But especially when the platforms themselves really allow such quickness in the work and in the dissemination of it.
That's exactly right. I'm with you. 100.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's the biggest thing I think I keep finding is that the things I'm learning that are most important about digital ministry, like I said before, there's no such thing as digital ministry. They're just the most important things about ministry. They're just like the way we've always needed to function in the world. Now we're just doing that in these digital spaces, which can feel alarming to people, like a brave new world for some, but for others, there's generations now who've grown up with these devices. First cell phone call, October 13th, 1983. Also my birthday, day I was born. What? Websites starting in like the mid 90s. I think 1983 or 94 was the first public website. So that's 30, 40 years of lived experience with these things just being around us, which means for some people in ministry, we remember life before these devices and spaces, but there's a whole lot of people who that's just the water that they've been born into. So I think modeling spaces to slow down, to take a breath, to check your work is so essential because people are just being shoved into this like warp speed, sprint the marathon mentality. And that is not sustainable or healthy because the goal isn't to just get the work done. It's to be human beings along the way. We're not robots. We're people.
That's exactly right. I mean, it goes back to also what you were saying before, like that. Oh, shoot, your second point. I'm trying to remember now. I just lost it.
Oh, authentic consistency, not the new shiny things.
Yeah. So like what does it really matter that you get involved with that? Is that thing really going to help you do it as you're trying to do in the world, right? Versus it's cool and new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Oh, well, this is not at all the last time you and I will talk just because we're friends and publicly because you have lots of fantastic things to say that I want the whole world to hear. So we're going to do this kind of thing again and again and again. But everyone watching, listening, however you're seeing or encountering this, thanks. We'd love to stay in touch. We're both pretty Googleable. Just see our names right there on screen. Look us up. Middle Collegiate Church is where Nat is at. Riverside Church is where I'm at. If there'll probably be a link wherever you're watching this where you can find more down below. So just scroll to the doobly-doo, click all the stuff, and then we can keep this conversation rolling. So thanks for hanging out, everybody.